But that's what it was. Like I said before earlier in the show, I've always been, wondering why is life the way it is, and who is causing it? And in doing that, I pretty much come to the conclusion of what I said before, which is it's a small group of basically elites, and they're steering our economy. So, I mean, that's where it all kind of came from. I mean, I'll tell you, Vinny, I haven't always been in this mentality for my entire life. Like I was saying before, I was voting. I was thinking that there was actually a left and a right and all that, just 4 years ago. So, a lot has been changing in my personal life as far as my views in that. And I'm sure a lot of people around the planet right now are going through those same kind of metamorphoses, as if you can put it like that.
It is happening. Change is the only constant in the universe.
So, yeah, I'm not sure where I'm going to go as far as my views. It's could things be done politically? I don't know. A good example, though, I would say, as far as using the markets, the free markets, if there is any that do exist, is this pink slime phenomenon that's been, kind of put out there. I don't know if it was intentional to get people to become vegetarians. I always think about where's the angle, Why are they putting this out there? Is it to get people to stop eating meat or what? But either way, that pink slime that was in, I believe it was McDonald's, but, fast food, and it's in the grocery stores as well. I think it was 70% was the number. They're going bankrupt. They filed for bankruptcy just yesterday. So, and that was done because of what? The public outcry. So, you can do things like that. Politics for me right now, it just seems so slimy and greasy, and it's just, a big wall up. So I don't know if we can do things without doing that, voluntarily and stuff like that, using markets and stuff. I don't know if you know where I'm going with it, but that's what I'm saying here.
Yeah. Well, I see. It's just like politics is starting to become realised for the bout. It is. It's an underground boxing match where there's gangsters there with their henchmen and that kind of stuff who have fixed the game. Okay, and you can play this game and you can come in and you can bet on this bare knuckle boxing match and what have you, but know that the odds are never in your favour.
Right. It's a cage match, And, like Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, that was an old movie, and that's telling you right there. You can go ahead and try. But, the game is rigged, I think. It's just, there's a lot of, people are kind of naive in the sense that they think that someone's going to go and they're going to represent them. That's when they say represent. They're going to represent you. Well, how can they truly do that when, it's like people, in order to survive, you got to do it on your own. You got to look out for yourself. That's not being selfish. That's survival.
Well, and more operatively, as Karen Quinn Tostado says, they're our misrepresentatives.
Right, yes. Well, that's even a better term to use. And they're acting as if they represent you. And Ron Paul, it's kind of a tragic story because the guy is saying exactly what needs to be said. But, he's facing that wall. He's facing that media wall where they cut him off literally, they're calling elections before they're even over, And there's all these people showing up to these caucuses following, supporting Ron Paul. And then they'll go in, they'll ask, okay, so who voted for Mitt Romney or Santorum? And there's nobody that did, well, maybe one or two, but they're not even proud enough to even raise their hand that they did. They're all Ron Paul supporters.
They're ashamed of it.
Yeah, so somehow these guys are winning, they're winning, and the people don't even support them. So, again, that goes back to, you dang Americans. Well, it ain't us. Somebody's steering the ship here, this Titanic, this sinking ship. It ain't us.
Oh, yeah. And I'm glad that Ron Paul has such an enormous caucus.
That's the thing, too, Vinny, when you said what got me into this, too, that was part of the journey, I guess you could say, is I in 2008, it was my last year in college, I was working with the Ron Paul campaign in my city or at the university, and it was, I met some really interesting people, And that's where my views kind of changed dramatically, you know. And I did start to get more active, you know, just around my neighborhood. I was putting flyers, you know, and this was 3 years ago, putting flyers on, you know, in front of Best Buy, a huge sea of cars, you know, just out there, you know, painting these car windshields with these messages of, you know, basically wake up, you know, the economy is rigged, politics is rigged, there's something coming, the dollar could go kaput, you know, at any time, you need to prepare. You know, just whatever you can. Putting little. There was one campaign video was for vaccinations for the H1N1 when it was out, and I made nice bright yellow, you know, 8x12 flyers with a cross. You know, had a skull and then a cross and needles. You know, no H1N1 shot. It only took probably about 15 hours before we, you know, 500 of them. Basically came down. We didn't even take them down. We were ordered to take them down, and someone went out there and took them down before we could even do it. So,
wow. Well, we protested outside the Television New Zealand HQ and outside the Vodafone New Zealand Music Awards with these big banners that said "Swines invented flu" with a with a giant skull that had eyeballs that looked like syringes, and another banner right beside it that says "Scientists say that the vaccine is worse than the swine flu." You know, and it's just that kind of stuff. Getting it on video and putting it out there, it helps to serve as part of a ripple effect. And there was a dramatically low uptake on the swine flu vaccines.
Oh, there was. I was actually kind of proud of that. I mean, not just for me personally, but I know that there was a lot of other people out there just trying to warn people, please, for the love of God, don't put this into your children. You know, if you're going to put it in, stick yourself with this, whatever. But, you know, it's like they're getting jabbed with so many vaccines before they're even out of the hospital when they're born. And then they go to the, you know, the schools, brainwashing camps, and, you know, they're threatened. Either, you know, take your dose of eugenics or you're not going to get your brainwashing. And if you don't do that, we're going to kidnap you. I mean, they don't leave people with a lot of choices. And that's the kind of, we get into the, like you were talking about before, the Hegelian dialect, you know, or engineered consent, where people feel as if they don't have any other choice but to do it. But they do, you know? And it's that feeling like we're all by ourselves here, you know?
And that feeling has kind of dawned on me a little bit as well, because it's just thinking, you know, I really want to live free. I don't want to be a slave. I don't want to have to bust my hump just to be able to, you know, get something to eat. I don't want to have to be at anybody's mercy. I don't want to have to submit to anybody else's authority. I'm not doing anything bad, you know. I help people out virtually daily. I'm a very, very helpful person. It's what I do. But the problem is I'm not allowed to live like that. And you can't live like that, because freedom isn't free. You have to earn a lot of it and work harder than you need to in order to obtain it. That's the problem with our society. People do not have enough time to spend with their families as well as earn a living good enough so that they don't wind up going broke or in a rest home or something like that someday with nothing to pass down to their kids.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, like the gerbil in the wheel, just spinning. You just got to keep moving, otherwise you die. That's, you know, not much. You don't really have much time to sit back and start thinking about the grand scheme of things. You know, to me personally, I think it's part of the greater plan, is using money as a source of controlling people. You know, and yeah, it's greed. Greed may have caused a housing crisis and bubble, but it comes down to controlling people.
Yeah, exactly. And if you can produce something that has value and you don't actually have to spend any resources or even any time or even any effort in order to make it up out of thin air, like, for example, currency on a computer to the trillions of dollars effect, you can get people to do whatever you want because there's no limits to your bribery. We'll be right back after the break. We're back, ladies and gentlemen, with the show that's going viral. like H1N1. It's the Vinney Eastwood show. Getting up in your nostrils and stuff. Through breathing apparatuses after you've been deformed in a test tube like on Alien Resurrection. Yes, welcome back. Also to Zachary Baker. Speaking of test tube babies being born in Alien Resurrection, society itself has become kind of a little bit, I don't know, isn't it always been incredibly interesting how it develops, how it shapes, how it moves on? What do you think, Zach?
Oh, I definitely do. We are literally, we're kind of like born into it. We're born into it, and waking up is shaking your heads and being like, but yeah, we're kind of just herded like cattle from the moment we're born, and we're having this like individuality. We're having it ripped from us, in school. So by the time that we're, 18 years old, we're ready to go, man. I mean, just give us our TV, give us whatever, and we're ready to work until we drop. And, we were talking about generations in that during the break, Vinny, and it does. It goes back, to the last generation, And it's not to, put off blame saying, well, if they didn't do this, or if they did this, we wouldn't be in this situation. But to a certain extent, there's some truth to it. This isn't just, they say, oh, you're just a lazy piece of whatever, because you're unemployed. Well, this isn't, a different time where you can just go anywhere and get a job. So,
yeah.
It may take that long just to recover from it. Generations.
Well, every generation allegedly is no more than, I think it's like one more generation away from tyranny or freedom. And so I think that the youth and the elders play a vital role together. And this is why. The elders have a whole lot of knowledge, but no energy to carry out their ideas and so forth, or at least much less energy than, say, an entire youthful generation.
Mm-hmm.
The youthful generation doesn't have a lot of ideas, but they don't have a lot of experience. They don't know how to craft those ideas or to shape them or to improve them to a degree other than through trial and error. When they're in contact with an older person who has the ability to teach them things and what have you, the young person's creativity is then advanced in a more exceptional way, and because they've got that energy of youth as well, they're more capable of actually fulfilling those dreams and ideas and aspirations, rather than somebody whose life is kind of coming into the autumn years. But they need each other.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and there's that time frame, too. You can tell when there's someone that's older, they've been through a lot. I mean, you don't have to be told, your grandfather's 90 years old. You can see he's old. He's been through a lot, And, yeah, you're right. It is the youth and it's the older people. But at the same point, with the older people, I almost find that, with family members especially, the older people, they have knowledge, but at the same time, it's almost like they're telling you things that either A, you already know, or B, they're just giving you some bad information, some bad wisdom.
Well, when we talk about elders and we talk about young people, I'm not talking about the masses of them who just basically are all just slaves to the New World Order, no independent thought or anything like that. Because you talk to a lot of elder people who are basically experts in the New World Order and all of that kind of stuff. Sharp cookies, mate. Extremely onto it, and then again, you talk to somebody who's perhaps done virtually nothing their entire life, same boring, dull job, just spent his time watching TV and in between watching the kids, that kind of thing.
Oh, I got what you're saying now, yeah. With the youth, I've seen them on YouTube where they'll actually at school they'll be active in certain things. Unfortunately, they're about the one of 1,000 children at school that will be doing things like this, like with police especially. You see videos on there where they'll be recording police and then they'll snatch the camera out of them or something like that because they're skateboarding somewhere. But yeah, you're right. There are older people that do have that. I thought you were talking about in general, so sorry about that. About older people. But you find the ones that are aware of things, they are awake,